did Kilimanjaro. So that in itself, I don't want to just sugarcoat or let you just go with that because I love truly any kind of outdoor activity like you. My wife and I, we just go like regular, trail hiking. We don't go nut ham like you did. But uh, I there's so much that's to be said with how you conquer yourself, you conquer
Mm,
your surroundings, but you're also dealing with you during those treks. So
yeah.
what what
Yeah.
what did you end up going through, and if you could share, because I'm sure some of that's personal, because I've heard stories of people that they break down, they're crying as they're walking because
Eh,
of all that stuff.
I mean, like again, in those moments, those pivotal moments in life where you're trying to figure out like if you're actually good enough, that imposter syndrome of like you had a business failure, a lot of people, they're like, oh wow, I thought your business was doing good. Why are you closing it up? Like that kind of those things in the back of your head make a man question whether he's good enough or not. And that's where like me myself is if you're like Winston Churchill says, if you're going through hell, keep going. Meaning like if you're going through something, just keep going because there will come a point where you can prove yourself again and again to say like, no, I am actually competent enough. I am good enough. And so that's why I didn't want to just, sit on the couch or like again, I had to move back with my parents. I didn't want to sit on my parents' couch and just sulk and wallow. So I knew I had to get back out there and prove to myself that I was still competent, that I still could do the do. Um, and again, Kilimanjaro, like you're supposed to climb it in 7 days because of acclimatization. You go up, you come down a little bit, you go up, you go come down a little bit just to help the body acclimatize. I said, no, I want to do it in 5 days. We don't need to acclimatize. We just 5 days, you hit the summit. There was you're not supposed to do it in April. April is the worst month to do it. And that was like my birthday is at the end of April. So I wanted to do it before my birthday. So, so I had to have snowboard gear and all that to climb it in April because there's snow everywhere. Like most pictures you see of Kilimanjaro, it's dirt at the top of the mountain. For me, it's like 7, 8 feet of snow, you know. But but yeah, those moments of like you're too tired, it's your food is coming out of both ends because your body's just rejecting everything. You're dehydrated, and even the Sherpas, because you have to hire Sherpas to go to the top. Even they're saying like, hey man, you don't look too good. Maybe we should just call it here because like there's different like false summits to where you can like take your picture. They got the sign behind you, you still did your 17, 18,000 feet, and they say, hey, let's just take a picture here, we can go back down. Like you can still say you climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm like, no, I gotta get to the 19,000 summit. I gotta get to the actual, the top of the mountain. And they're like, okay, this crazy American. And so step by step, man, it was one of the most intense, I would say, climbs in my life. I mean, I've done not other mountains, but I've done other elevations, and I've done other feats. But that was one of those moments where it's like I didn't want to fail at it because again, you feel like a failure already. So you just have to get a win under your belt. And that was Kilimanjaro for me. And when I climbed it and came down, it wasn't like, the God opened the heavens and said, you are good to go. It was more so of like me to myself, like, yeah, like some people do, they go to the jungle, do ayahuasca. Some, women after a divorce, they go to the gym and get fit. Some men have to buy that Corvette to feel like they're good at something. Me, that was my experience. I was 20, 26, 27 years old, and that's what I wanted to do. So yeah, it for me is transformative. I didn't play everybody else to do it too.
Yeah, I of course, yeah, I love challenges, and knowing about something like that makes me feel like I could do it too.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not going to do 5 days
no, take your
or
time, man.
April.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait till it's nice and sunny.
There you
I
go.
know about the fall summits though. That's actually new to me.
Yeah, there's like 3 fall summits where you can like take your picture and say I climb Mount Kilimanjaro, but I knew the one that I wanted to get to.
That's just faking the funk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You gotta go.
yeah,
So when you come down, you get a new appreciation of things. You're able
yeah.
to see a little bit clearer. So that's part of the goal right there. Um, how quickly after that did you start rebounding?
It was pretty soon. That was when, so I was already in talks with that company, in, the company that I was selling the Vectors through before I went. And that was kind of the, like, so there again, like I had time, I had money. I was in talks. We were going back and forth through email while I was in Africa, which is kind of, it was kind of reassuring because I knew I could have something when I got back. But again, like my trip, I went from Dubai, or no, I went from, Dubai to Cape Town, South Africa. I went to Tanzania to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. I was gonna spend my birthday in Morocco, and then after that, I was gonna go to Eastern Europe, and I was gonna stay a month floating around Eastern Europe, like, through the Baltics, through Turkey. I was gonna do the Jesus Walk in Israel, so I was gonna stay on the road for at least a month or two. But when the company said, "Hey, we're looking to get started, and a start date could be July 1 for you," that was kind of one of the anchors that brought me back. Like if that company didn't have that offer on the table, I probably would have still been on the road. I probably wouldn't have a wife with three beautiful children. I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now because I still be on the road doing my travels. I That was one of my goals when I had my business at the time. I was a world traveler. I could literally make money from my laptop, and it was fun. Like I been to 22 different countries, so world traveling kind of was my thing, and I had fun doing it. But again, like if I didn't have that offer on the table, that that anchor pulling me back to the industry, then I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't be here today. Let's be honest. I wouldn't be right here today.
Wow, now that's so unique, especially back then. I guess world traveling wasn't, especially for business, so probably just now picking up where a lot of people were doing that.
Yeah.
So you're almost your first leg of pioneers in your generation to do that.
Yeah, a lot of people that I know, either they travel after their careers, like you see the big tour buses hit the city, a whole bunch of older people, like they got the Nike, Nike shoes on with the socks and the hat. And like I always, to keep it clean on the podcast, I say you want to travel while your body still works. If you kind of get what I'm, get what I'm saying. And a lot of people wait till they travel to see beautiful sights, to meet beautiful people when they're, past that prime. And I get it. You got to put your work in and put your time in. But I was under the assumption, or I was under the thought process, I want to travel while I can get around, while I can do things, while I can, have those, let's say, fun nights and stuff like that. So that was my attitude of like, I want to travel now and I'll get to life later, which, we could talk 2 hours on that, that thought process. I do feel that my generation, being a millennial, has a little bit of that energy of like, I can put off work, have fun now, and then get to work later. I feel like the baby boomer generation, they're, no, you got to work, 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 work. And then when you retire at 62 or 67 years old, and then you can reap the benefits. But I've seen way too many people, whether it's from the church or in my personal life, they work their whole lives, they retire, boom, health problems hit, they can't do anything, or else they pass away because when they retire, they don't retire to anything, and they just sit around, and the body says, well, we're not needed anymore, so
Yeah.
boom, they're out of here.
Hmm. Wow. Well, great philosophy there. I believe it myself. That's why when I transitioned to going on the road, that was 2017. So back then, not a lot of people were doing traveling and on the road. In my generation, I'm a Gen Xer.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we're in a generation, especially when you work for cities and counties, they basically say, you stay here in this job until you retire.
right, right,
Then you go out, just as you just mentioned. And truly, that's because my generation of trainers were actually the people who were silent generation. Yes, they were
yeah,
kind of leaving, but it was mostly the baby boomers, and
yeah,
that's their mentality, right?
yep, yep.
So